Once upon a time, if you were looking to buy a vehicle that told the world that you were moving up the corporate ladder in your career field, you were looking at a compact luxury sports sedan. In fact, Audi has been playing in this space for well over 30 years with the Audi A4. It's essentially their answer to the BMW 3 Series and Mercedes-Benz C-Class. However, for 2025, the A4 is dead, and in its replacement, of course, is the A5. You guys have known this nameplate for almost the past 15 plus years as the two-door version of the A4. However, for 2025, this model essentially takes the place because Audi has simplified their lineup. However, there are no more A5 coupes, cabriolets, or sportbacks. Instead, we just have one A5. It's now in its third generation. So as you can see, this week we are testing out the latest A5 in the fully loaded Prestige package, painted in this new color called Horizon Blue. And the big question I answered, has Audi managed to make enough changes to their compact executive luxury sports sedan to sway buyers away from those SUVs? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the brand new styling for this third generation A5, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, as you guys know, Audi has offered a choice between the A5, the higher performance S5, and then a really high performance RS5. However, today we're just going to focus on the base engine, which did get a pretty nice power increase versus the previous generation. Now, if you guys know Volkswagen and Audi products, this powertrain should be pretty familiar to you. It's their latest EA888 2-liter turbocharged gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder engine. Audi used to offer two different outputs of the A5's 2-liter in the previous generation, called the A5 40 TFSI and the 45 TFSI. This essentially is just now one output. It makes 268 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase of 7 horsepower and 22 pound-feet of torque versus the old A5 45 TFSI. The 40 TFSI made only 201 horsepower, so this is a big power jump. And remember, if you guys want an even more powerful A5, you can buy the S5, which has a 3-liter turbo V6 that makes 362 horsepower. We'll save that until we get one for a full week. Now, it all goes out through one transmission choice, a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and the company's latest Quattro all-wheel drive system is going to be standard. Fuel economy is rated at 22 in the city and 32 on the highway, which is actually pretty decent numbers. It is rated to run on premium gas. This vehicle has just under a 15-gallon fuel tank. Theoretically, you should be able to do around 385 miles of range on a full tank. Now, 0 to 60 times, Audi claims it's as quick as 5.6 seconds with a top speed of 130 miles an hour. This is a sedan, so it's not rated to tow, but as it sits, it weighs in at just over 4,000 pounds, around 200 pounds heavier versus the previous generation. That's because this vehicle is riding on their new PPC, premium platform combustion architecture, and the engine, as you can see, is longitudinally mounted to showcase that, again, this is no like guzzied up version of like a Volkswagen Jetta, for example. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, first of all, this color, like I mentioned earlier, is called Horizon Blue. It's an extra $595. It certainly looks good, although it's also a little too grayish for me. I was hoping that Audi would give us like a brighter blue. You can get their Ascari blue on the S5 for an extra $595, but this color certainly is classy. It's elegant. You can see it has the beautiful metallic fleck in it because it's a metallic color. The headlights, these are Audi's full matrix design OLED style LEDs, where it offers an LED daytime running light, LED turn signals, which are sequential. You have LED low and high beams, and you even have the choice of 8 different LED signature daytime running lights from the front and from the rear that you can choose from. The instrument panel, of course, the front fascia, you can see has some functional openings along with this kind of like gray accent. The S5 has a much larger kind of air intake from that little area, and then you can see the Audi single frame grille is also gray painted with the new Audi logos, which are white accented. You can see there's functional openings here, the sensors for the adaptive cruise control, integrated parking sensors, a full 360 camera. You get that if you guys go for the premium plus trims and up. And the one thing that Audi has gotten rid of on the regular A5 is an S-Line package and a black optics package, which is a little bit disappointing. You used to be able to option up an A5 to almost look like an S5, but now you can clearly distinguish this as an A5 because it just doesn't look as aggressive. So I'm hoping Audi will eventually bring that back along with a black optics package, but I guess right now, at least initially, they're just trying to simplify things. Now, moving around the side profile, being built on an all-new architecture, the A5 has grown a little bit. Remember, this is basically only offered as a 4-door liftback, so it's a Sportback, but Audi doesn't call it a Sportback anymore. Its wheelbase has grown by 2.6 inches at 113.8 Overall length is 190.1. It's also around 2.5 inches longer than the previous generation, almost 3 inches actually. Width has gone up by about 1/2 inch, and the height of this car is increased by 2.5 inches. So it certainly is going to offer more interior space, but at the same time, I think the silhouette of the old model, I think, looked a little bit better. The wheels, these are an extra $800 for the 19-inch 5-spoke bicolor wheels with a machine and bicolor design. The tires are Bridgestone Turenza run flat tires on a 245/40 R19. You can see the brakes, 13.3 inches in the front, 13 inches in the rear. If you go for an S5, the brake sizes grow by about an inch at the front with a 4-piston caliper. You have passive dampers, but all independent suspension. I do love the full paint finish. You can really see, again, that beautiful metallic fleck in the color. And then, of course, without the black optics package, you're going to have like a chrome along the, or a satin trim along the window trim. I really hope that Audi will offer the black optics package on the A5 at some point. The panoramic glass roof includes their digital light control, which I'll show you guys what that looks like later on the inside. It sadly doesn't open up to vent air, and there's no retractable shade, but I mean, overall, when you look at the A5 from this angle, you can really see it has a really nice proportion that really tries to look like a coupe, but again, it's a traditional looking sedan. Following me over to the rear of the vehicle, you can see the design is pretty much conservative. Audis have always been like that, but at the same time, I find the old model to be a little bit more distinctive looking. You can see you've got the same Audi 4 rings here, the new logo with the white outline. You have a full-length LED light bar with, again, OLED taillights with sequential turn signals, full LED brake lights and reverse lights as well. You can also change that light signature through the screen, just like in the headlight design. You can see there's a black subtle A5 badge there, which some people have said it looks a little bit too aftermarket and cheap. The Quattro badge actually doesn't match the font of the A5, which kind of annoys my OCD. And then you can see the rear bumper includes these rectangular dual exhaust tips, which actually is a nice surprise. Most manufacturers have been removing the exhaust. You also have this kind of interesting diamond texture, 3D effect in the rear bumper valance, which is the same thing that you'll get in the front of the vehicle. No spoiler on this vehicle at all. But it certainly has a built-in duckbill spoiler, which I also like. And then looking at the cargo area, because this is a liftback, which allows this vehicle to compete with vehicles like the 4 Series Grand Coupe, for example, you have a pretty good amount of cargo space. 23.6 cubic feet of storage space with the seats up. You can see you have additional storage off to the side. You have a little bit of an underfloor storage area. No spare tire, as you can see, because we have run flat tires. Sadly, there's no way to drop the rear seats from back here, but if you fold down the back seats, it expands the cargo to around 36.6 cubic feet, so just under 37. That's a little bit more, around 2 cubic feet more than the previous generation. It also makes this a little bit more spacious versus its main rival, the BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe. Now, moving inside the interior of the all-new 2025 Audi A5. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is Audi's current corporate intelligent access key fob. It's a nice size key. It's a good evolution of the original key, or the old key. It has your usual buttons here for lock, or for unlock, lock. You can also power open the lift gate, of course, and then there's a panic feature. There is no remote start from the fob, but I believe if you have access to the Audi Connected app, from your smartphone, you should be able to remote start and ping the vehicle from your actual smartphone if you're an owner. As you can see, the door handles have also been redesigned. There's an area here, if you touch that, that will lock the doors. It'll have the signature Audi chirp. The mirrors will also electrically fold in. And then if you want to unlock it, you actually have to stick your hand in here and then push this little pressure pad there, and that's what opens up the doors for you. The mirrors will also unfold. The vehicle sadly does not offer an auto walkaway lock or unlock feature like on its BMW rival. Now, looking at the interior, you can see I really like the color combination of my test car with the Horizon Blue and the Pearl Beige full Napa leather interior. So as you can see, the seats themselves have been redesigned. They are heated and ventilated. In fact, ventilated seats come standard when you guys go for the Prestige package, so love how Audi is including that. And you can also get this with a brown interior or a black interior, or this pearl beige. And Audi also offers the ventilated seats on all 3 of the interior colors. So that's something that Audi has struggled with before, where you could only get ventilated seats if you got a black interior. Surprisingly though, if you want ventilated seats in the S5, it's not included, at least not the ones that I had a chance to test out in Newport Beach last month. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to confirm that. That could have been an early pre-production car. The seats themselves, they adjust in like 12 different ways. And you also have an adjustable thigh cushion, although that's a manual adjustment. No massaging seats on the A5, but the S5 does offer that. You can see the door panel has a soft touch injection molded plastic with some contrast stitching. This stitching actually feels and looks real, but for some reason I think it actually might be a faux stitching. You can see there's an aluminum accented door handle here, more of that leather pearl beige here and here where you'd rest your elbows. Window controls have that satisfyingly high quality click, and they're one touch up down for all four. You can see a lot of your controls have moved to this little glossy black panel where you have your headlight controls here, your mirror controls, your memory seats. You have 2-person memory seats, and you also have your child safety lock there, hard touch plastic down here, and then the 14 speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo sounds pretty good. The Prestige package includes 2 speakers in each of the headrests, so that again helps when you are taking phone calls, for example. It'll be nice because it'll be right in your head. But overall, the interior looks pretty similar to the last Q6 e-tron that I tested. Audi's pretty much been putting this same dash on all their models. But once you get inside, you can see it has a low step-in height because it's a sedan. As I shut the door, the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, although I will point out this requires a pretty big slam, otherwise the door won't shut all the way, which I found to be annoying in my week's worth of testing. Starting the vehicle up, you can see start stop button is here. There is no mild hybrid system with this car, so it has a traditional starter noise, it has the newer Audi chime, and then of course the center stage here is their digital stage infotainment system, which it's super hot outside, so the AC works really well with us, which is fantastic. The Prestige model includes a head-up display, which also offers kind of augmented reality views and a demo mode. And then the driver is facing an 11.9-inch virtual cockpit display here, a 14.5-inch display for the center, which includes, of course, their Google Maps interface, which Audi's always been really good at their map quality. It also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then over here on the passenger side, the Prestige trim basically gives you a 10.9-inch display here where you can literally pull up YouTube to watch, hopefully, your favorite YouTube channel, Redline reviews, and then you can also pull up the different apps. There's basically games built in to the software here, and it actually looks really impressive. It's quick and snappy and responsive. You can pull GPS up here, which is probably one of the reasons why you can't pull the GPS over here anymore. But this I find to be more useful versus other passenger displays. If you guys don't go for the Prestige package, you'll just have a big black plastic panel here, which looks a little bit cheap. That reminds you didn't get the passenger display, but all of them will come with the 14.5-inch display here and the 11.9-inch display here. You can see the steering wheel offers a power tilt telescoping adjustment, which is nice. It has the new Audi logo, of course. I don't like the way the steering wheel looks. It's a 4-spoke design. It's just too big. The S5 is going to have a better flat bottom and flat top steering wheel design that's a little bit smaller. You have paddles to control the 7-speed dual clutch, of course. And in terms of the materials on the dash, this is the same from the door coming over to this area. This feels a little cheap plastic, but this upper portion is also soft touch with the faux stitching. You have some more of that leather, the pearl beige leather, kind of carried over from the door panel onto this portion here. And then this down lower area here is all hard touch plastic. The air vents you can see are a little bit interesting looking. They are manual vents at least, where you can control the airflow just through that little tab. And then down here you can see you have some genuine wood, which also includes wood on the door panels. This wood feels and looks real. I really like the look of it with the pearl beige. I don't love the piano black here. You can see a wireless phone charging pad. That's a quick charger right there. It's also vented to help keep your phone cool. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, a 12-volt power outlet, of course. And then you can see your gear selector. Audi's been moving to this little like tab that you use, that basically you push it forward to go into reverse. There's your full 360 camera that you get with the Premium Plus trims and up. You can see it also gives you trajectory. It gives you several different views. You have a camera washer as well. It also has top-down, or it has a cross-traffic braking. If you're going to hit something, it'll stop you from doing so. There's also an automatic parallel park feature. Park is accessed by pushing the P button here, and then drive is accessed by pushing that down. You can also go into a sport mode as well, where it'll show you S or D in the drive mode, or in the instrument cluster there. The wood looks nice here, but I really wish Audi would have used a different material versus piano black. This area here is going to get disgusting in just a couple of weeks or months of just driving this car if you don't keep it clean. Nice padded center console. If I open that up, you can see it's not the deepest. It's kind of shallow. You don't have any USBs in there. Instead, again, Audi keeps them here. You can adjust how high and low you want this to go, which is nice. It also, sadly, doesn't move forward and back, though. It just goes up and down. But at least the seats are comfortable and supportive. The headrests don't adjust up and down or forward and back, but they are at a really good position to where they're not pushing you back and hurting your neck. And you also have the thigh extending cushion here, along with the height adjustment on the passenger side. No memory seats, and then the audio system also sounds pretty good. The instrument panel are the interior ambient lighting, which, by the way, this car, you can access it by going here and going to your lights. This is where you can change your exterior light signature. You can see there's 8 different types that you can choose from. You basically have to just show it here in the instrument panel. It shows you a really cool graphical display. You can't actually choose separate ones for the front and rear, but it is cool how Audi lets you, pick and choose. And then once you want the one that you want, you basically just hit the select button that will confirm it, and then you have to turn the vehicle off and then restart it, and that will actually initiate the new LED light signature. I personally like, I think, probably the first one. I think that might actually be my favorite. Again, it's very, very interesting how Audi offers that little selection. If you want to go to the interior lighting, which is over here, as you can see, there are several different interior lighting options. I also love how Audi's ambient lighting is very classy, and there's this new feature here when you have the turn signal on, it actually shows you the turn signal there on the end of each side of the ambient light strip. So that's a really cool little detailed touch. Again, Audi's always done a pretty good job at just being subtle and calming with their ambient lighting. It's not overwhelming like some competitors, so kind of keep that in mind. The glove compartment, you can see, is pretty big. It's stamped and lined with felt. It's a bin style. It offers additional covered storage, which is great. You have an auto-dimming rearview mirror, which is frameless, but no digital camera rearview mirror. And then the headliner has a woven material, as you can see. And then, of course, here's the the variable light control panoramic glass roof, which if I push this, you can see it actually has 6 different segments which will frost and defrost itself. And you can also kind of make it completely tinted, or you can also do a sequence here where you can just have the front area opened up, but the rear, you can kind of leave that frosted if the rear passenger doesn't want that. There's also a one-touch feature, or you can also just allow the rear to have light coming through, but not the front area. So again, this is really cool, but I don't like how this doesn't open up to vent air, so that's kind of a downside for me. I personally would rather have it open up to vent air. But overall, the interior has a high quality look and feel, not a single squeak and rattle, good visibility, of course, decent sounding audio system. If you guys are an audiophile, highly recommend the Prestige model for the upgraded Bang & Olufsen. But overall, as you can see, it's pretty similar to other new Audi products. I just wish that Audi would just use a different dash design, but I can see why they're doing this, because they want to keep everything cohesive and bring the cost down for, I guess, assembly purposes. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. As you can see, this car's increase in the wheelbase has improved the rear seat space. Now, Audi says when you open up the door back here, which has a pretty decent opening, you have around 36 inches of legroom. That's an extra inch versus the previous generation, and it's also several inches more versus some of its rivals. The Prestige model, as you can see, includes the soft touch materials here with the contrast stitching, leather over here, hard touch plastic here, and you also have these retractable sunshades, which I wasn't expecting to find that, but it's nice how Audi gives you that feature. You can see the seats themselves, they don't recline, but they do fold down to give you a almost completely flat floor, which is great. And then once you get back here, you can see the space. Once I shut the door, you can see this is my driving position. 36 inches of legroom is a pretty good amount for somebody my height at 5'7". There's plenty of foot space. There is a big hump here for the rear drive shaft for the quattro all-wheel drive system. You have rear seat air vents, of course, 2 USB-C charging ports. I can easily cross my legs and get comfortable back here. You have 2 storage nets, of course, right there. And then there's also an armrest that folds down to gives you 2 cup holders, adjustable headrest, of course. The panoramic glass roof comes basically almost to over my head when I'm sitting back here in terms of the headroom space. Because of the increase in the roof height, you do have decent headroom clearance. I have maybe a solid inch or maybe 2 inches of additional clearance, but again, if you're over 6 feet, it's not going to be great. But I have to say, compared to the Lexus or even the TLX or the BMW or the Mercedes, the Audi actually has the most space in the segment, so you can kind of credit that the bubbly proportions of this car to giving you even more interior space. So here we are behind the wheel of the fully redesigned 3rd generation Audi A5. In fact, it's been a long time since I've had an Audi A5 for a full week to show you guys a review on. I think the last one I had was back in 2018, so that was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, that's when the 2nd generation first came out. Of course, back then, that's when Audi had a coupe, a convertible, of course. Now we only have the A5, and it's basically just called the A5 or the S5. The Sportback name is gone because this model, as you guys know, replaces the old A4, which I am a little sad how Audi has done that, but at the same time, the A5 has always been their best-selling 4-door sedan, or their 4-door car. So it makes sense for Audi to keep the nameplate alive. But this powertrain with the A5 is the company's signature 2-liter turbo gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. It loses, however, their mild hybrid assist, which is actually kind of surprising how they dumped that. But despite losing the mild hybrid assist, this powertrain does gain about 7 horsepower and 22 foot-pounds of torque. So previously Audi had a 40 version and a 45 version. Now they all basically come as one specific output, making almost 270 horsepower. That is the most standard power in its segment. This has more power versus the base engine in the BMW 430i Grand Coupe, and of course the Mercedes-Benz C300, which offers 255 horsepower. This model does have basically the same torque as the other German competitors at 295 foot-pounds. Audi's, of course, their signature quattro all-wheel drive system is standard. There is no front-wheel drive version or two-wheel drive version of this car. But the last A5 or S5, or basically this chassis that I tested, was an S5. When I first had a chance to drive this car out in Newport Beach, California, Audi did not have the A5, they just had the S5. But I have sampled this powertrain in the Q5, so it should be pretty good numbers. Now, Audi claims this model is capable of 0 to 60 in around 5.6 seconds. My usual spot, as you guys saw, had a lot of road work on it. So we'll try our first 0 to 60 test on this stretch here, although this is a little bit more uphill. Now, this car does come with launch control. To engage it, you basically turn the stability control into its sport setting, make sure the car is in dynamic. When you have it in sport setting, it allows you to access the launch control. So you basically brake torque it and see what we can get. The 1 to 2 shift is definitely harsh, 5.89 seconds there. Now that's with it more going slightly uphill, so I expect it to shave maybe 0.2 off that time, so it should be pretty much bang on with what Audi claims, but we'll try it up ahead again just to see what the quickest time we can get. But for a base powertrain, this engine is basically what people, or what people are expecting for a vehicle of this class. I mean, yes, the S5 is going to deliver a 0 to 60 time about 1.5 seconds quicker than this, but remember, this is a 4-cylinder turbo. They can get up to 32 mpg, about 26 combined. We'll talk about the fuel economy later on. What I don't like about this engine is it constantly reminds you that it's a 4-cylinder. It doesn't sound very pleasing. In fact, it actually sounds even more muted than the last A5 that I tested with the older powertrain. The older one had a little bit of like a snarl every time you were, pulling the paddles, or it was shifting a little more aggressively. This powertrain doesn't have any of that snarl when you shift through the gears. Remember, this is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and the dual clutch is a little jerky at times at slow speeds. You notice it, especially if you're in traffic, but when you're driving aggressively, that's kind of where the dual clutch offers its quick, responsive shifts. I just don't love the sound. This is where, if you guys want a more, visceral experience, buy the S5. The S5 offers up to 362 horsepower, so it's a pretty healthy jump, almost 100 horsepower more, but over 405 foot-pounds of torque. So that offers a lot more torque versus this powertrain, so kind of keep that in mind. The steering of this vehicle, Audi has updated their progressive dynamic steering in this car. And I will say that it actually transmits a little more feedback than what I'm used to. The car in general feels sporty, so I really like that. The quattro all-wheel drive system does a good job at just appropriating the power to the wheels, of course, with the most grip. The brakes also feel progressive and smooth. The start-stop feature of the car is a little more jerky, though, because it lacks the mild hybrid system, but most of the times this car just feels peppy, it feels quick enough, it feels appropriate given that this is the base powertrain. It just doesn't have much in terms of sound, which is something that a lot of its competitors deal with. Remember, you can look at something like a Lexus IS350 if you guys want that naturally aspirated V6, which I still find to be very appealing, but the Lexus, if you guys want it with all-wheel drive, has only a 6-speed automatic. But let's try another run here. Let's see if we can get a slightly quicker time. We're gonna brake torque it, of course. Launch control activated. Ooh, it launches pretty well. Ooh, that first to second shift is aggressive. 5.59 seconds there, so basically 5.6. It is bang on, of course, with Audi's claim, and it should be plenty of performance for most people. It does sound a little bit nicer when you do engage the launch control, but I think that Audi is just kind of synthesizing the sound. In terms of torque vectoring, this car does not have like Acura super handling all-wheel drive like on a TLX, for example, but I do want to notate that the 5.6 time is pretty much the same as what I got in a Lexus IS350 F Sport with all-wheel drive. That did it in 5.5 seconds. I haven't had a chance to test out the 2-liter turbo A-Spec TLX in a while, and I think a BMW 430i xDrive Grand Coupe did it in 5.8 seconds. So this is pretty competitive performance. Handling wise, the ride quality of this model, it does have passive dampers, so not adaptive dampers. It's perfectly fine. It's comfortable. It actually leans more toward comfort. I'm actually going to switch the drive mode here into its comfort setting. And this is kind of where you notice the steering gets a little bit lighter. The engine stops revving so much, although it's still kind of revving a little bit because it's thinking I'm driving more aggressively. But the car in general is quiet. The engine, this is where you don't really hear the 4-cylinder unless you're pushing it. It kind of fades into the background. The levels of road and wind noise are very hushed. It's very appropriate given this is an Audi vehicle. And then the ride, like I said earlier, leans more toward comfort, but at the same time, it will, get out of its own way on your favorite back road. But remember, the S5 is going to give you a little bit more of that edge. I also expect, don't know why that decided to turn on. I also expect Audi to eventually return the RS5, which is going to be the pinnacle, of course. But the A5 for a base powertrain is certainly going to suffice for most people. In terms of visibility, I can see out of the front and the sides quite nicely. The rear view, that window back there is a little bit kind of oddly shaped, but you can still see the headrest do block your way a little bit. But sadly, Audi doesn't offer a digital camera or rearview mirror. Their full suite of driver assistance tech is standard, which is a great thing. Previously, you had to go for like a Prestige to get that. And then the seats are also comfortable and supportive. The headrests are also nicely positioned to where they don't feel like they're pushing your neck forward. The cooled function also works really well. No massaging seats on this model. You can get that, however, on the S5, but the S5 doesn't offer ventilated seats, which is infuriating. And in terms of fuel efficiency, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged around a 26 mpg in mixed driving. That was mostly city driving. On the highway, I got around 34 mpg when I was driving super efficiently, 32 when I was going with the flow of traffic, like 75 to 80 miles an hour. So with its 15-gallon fuel tank on premium, I was actually able to do better versus the 385 miles of range. I was able to do just under 450 miles of range. So that's excellent range numbers, and I think that people are going to really enjoy that. I also love, of course, the digital stage here, that new 14.5-inch display with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's what the CarPlay looks like when it's fully integrated, of course. And it's bright, it's crystal clear. Because of the curved display, you can still reach the outer coordinates of it pretty easily, or quadrants of it pretty easily. So overall, the A5 is still an excellent compact luxury sedan. I mean, if you guys are coming from the old model, the tech in this car is going to certainly be an upgrade. The refinement is certainly going to be nice. Not a single squeak and rattle in this car. The fuel efficiency is also going to be nice. I'm wondering why Audi got rid of their mild hybrid system. I think that would have improved the start-stop and improved the fuel efficiency even more. And again, as an enthusiast, I would definitely go for the S5. I don't like how Audi made the A5's engine even quieter versus the previous generation, but I think for the general mission of this car, you're comparing it to, the BMW, the Mercedes, the Acura, and the Lexus. The Audi certainly offers a nice blend. It's a very balanced car, and I think that's kind of the mission that Audi has always portrayed with most of their models. Now, with just under 25,000 A5s sold in America last year, like I said earlier, this model was essentially Audi's best-selling four-door in the United States, so it's clearly an important model. So after spending a full week with the redesigned third-generation A5, remember, this vehicle replaces the A4, and there's no more coupe or cabriolet, and again, the Sportback name is dead, even though this is technically the A5 Sportback from the previous generation. I have to say, the changes that Audi has made, first of all, the PPC architecture, that's probably going to be their last internal combustion architecture that's all new, is a really great platform. As you guys saw, it feels like an upscale vehicle. It certainly isn't going to be confused with the lowly or MQB architecture that also underpins the A3. This feels like an appropriate step up from that smaller A3 if you guys want to move up the corporate ladder. The base engine, even though it doesn't sound all that appealing, delivers solid performance. 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds is going to be quick enough for most. And if you want more power, the S5, which I'll save for a different review, is going to offer almost 100 more horsepower. The ride also leans more toward comfort, but at the same time, Audi has addressed the steering feel. It certainly is a much sportier feeling vehicle. The interior space is also plentiful. The back seat is roomy. The cargo area is one of the biggest in the segment. and the tech in this car, their digital stage cockpit, of course, certainly doesn't look as fancy as the old model, but the technology that delivers with the software, the clarity, the ease of use is certainly a big improvement. I also like the passenger display that Audi includes with the Prestige model. It's one of the few passenger displays that I actually find could be useful if you have somebody that wants to watch movies, for example, on the screen. It's crystal clear, it works quick, the software behind it is excellent, and the wireless phone integration also worked extremely well. Overall, I think the exterior design of the A5, that's a hit or miss. Some people think it looks like a more bland generic vehicle. Some people think it looks really good, like a baby A7. I'm kind of torn. I really hope Audi will eventually offer their black optics package and an S-Line package on the base A5 to make it look more like an S5, which at some point I'm hoping they'll eventually do so, depending of course on dealer demand and consumer demand. But if you guys are looking to put the new A5 in your driveway, it's going to cost you a little bit more as expected. The base price with standard quattro all-wheel drive for the premium trim starts at $49,700. That price actually undercuts the BMW and Mercedes rivals by about $1,000, although if you guys are looking at the Japanese competitors like the TLX and Lexus IS, this is going to be, $5,000 to $8,000 more expensive, but it also is far more enjoyable, I think, and far more technologically advanced. Stepping up to the Premium Plus trim will cost you around $3,000. Stepping up to the Prestige trim, like my test car here, is going to start in the mid $50,000 range. Add in a couple of options that my test car has, which honestly is pretty light. Audi makes everything pretty much standard when you move up the corporate ladder, with the destination charge of around $1,400. My test car here is just under $59,000. So 59 grand certainly sounds like a lot of money, but keep in mind a BMW and Mercedes competitor can easily be $60,000 to $65,000, although you can get a sport package on those models, which would in theory increase the price of this car if Audi offered an S-Line package. But around 59 grand, it's about the same price as a comparably equipped Lexus IS 350 F Sport with all-wheel drive, which also has a naturally aspirated V6. The TLX is the value king. An A-spec with super handling all-wheel drive is around 52 grand. So again, the Audi is a little bit more expensive, but I would argue that the technology, the practicality, the comfort, the space that it offers certainly will warrant that extra price increase. And if you guys are comparing it to its German rivals, the Audi does have that value, quotient to keep in mind. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Audi A5. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.